Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. It's your host, Leah, and I'm so happy to have you here today. We're going to be diving through many a things. I have been off my game as far as keeping up with things and posting content in the moment. However, I have been enjoying being outside. So it's like it comes at what cost though, because I miss all of you. I want to start by first of all thanking every single person who tunes into my content. Whether you like my videos, whether you watch my videos, share them with a friend, if you're subscribed, thank you for spending any time in your day sitting with me. Thank you to every person who shares their perspective in my comments. I love to hear other people's point of views. I love to hear when people agree, when people offer an alternative perspective. So I just want to say that I feel so grateful because the only reason that I'm doing this is to have like a like-minded community based where we can talk about our TV. I don't use the word community lightly. And the only reason that I have a following is because of all of you. So I wanted to start out by saying thank you to all of you. Just a reminder, I'm still growing. I want to find other like minded people who would also like to consume this reality TV content. So if you are listening on Spotify, just a reminder, go ahead and click that bell so you get a notification when I post an episode. Please go ahead and give me 5 stars if you enjoy listening to the podcast. Make sure that you leave me a review. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it allows you to leave a detailed review so you can write one out as opposed to just giving 5 stars. I love to see what people think. I love to see my reviews. And if you are listening on YouTube, please do me a favor and click that like button, subscribe, and come back for more. That's just the general housekeeping. I wanted to start off by being grateful. And I want to let you know that this is going to be a very casual episode. I wasn't even planning on recording a video. There's probably going to be times where I'm not looking at the camera. This is just going to be a very, like I said, casual, comfortable episode. I want this to feel like we're sitting, hanging out, maybe a friend on FaceTime. I just want this to feel casual. I have my tea, I have my water, I'm hungry. I have hash browns sitting to the side. I may even take a couple of bites of them. And I have so many different things I want to talk about. Let me give you the lowdown so you know what to expect. I'm going to be talking about, because this was brought up in a prior live and I didn't get a chance to hit on it yet, I'm going to be talking about Amaya's alleged racist posts that were found. I'm going to be reading an article as well as going through the actual post itself and talking about what's been found online. I know that that is somewhat old news, but it's something that I'd still like to talk about. And I had multiple people ask me to weigh in and bring up on the channel. I'm going to be talking briefly about Perfect Match. I'm going to be honest, it's not my favorite show to watch, but I have up the cast. So I'm going to do a brief analysis of episodes 1 through 6 by way of going through each of the cast members and telling you what they have going on the show. If you are not caught up for Perfect Match, just a warning, I'll tell you when I'm going to start that segment so that you can go forward. I am also going to be talking about Beyond the Villa. I just realized I've only recapped episode 1. After everything that's happened, if you did not see my recap and my explanation of the things that have gone down between he who now Voldemort and Janae, if you have not seen that video, I don't want to go back and rewatch the episode, so I'm going to be jumping from episode 1 to episode 4, the most recent episode. Today is Wednesday, August 6th. I believe that another episode debuts this evening or tomorrow. I will post a separate recap for that, but I'm going to go to episode 4. I'm also going to be talking about The Valley Reunion Part 2. I just watched that this morning. I don't have very formal notes, so it's just going to be quickly hitting on it and some of the main points that I have. And then I'm going to be talking about just some random things that I've been watching. Some people are like, where have you been? What have you been doing? I have been celebrating my boyfriend's birthday. Then I went to a wedding. It's Leo season. I have so many Leos that I love in my life. My best friend is a Leo. Like the 2 soulmates in my life are Leos, my best friend and my boyfriend. And then I have other very close friends who celebrate their birthdays this month. So I have been trying to be present for that. I've just been taking time offline. And honestly, a lot of the content has been overwhelming, but I've also been keeping some stuff to myself. Like I don't just sit here and not watch anything for days. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still sitting on my couch and watching things. So what have I been watching? Obviously, I watched Hunting Wives. I'm going to briefly talk about that because I would love my best friend Ann Leo. She is born August 8th, Brie. I would love for her to come on and talk about that show with me. No promises though, because I sometimes never hit back on things. But I'm going to talk about how I've been watching that. I watched Mr. and Mrs. Murder after being recommended it on TikTok. Not personally, just by a random video that I passed by. I'm going to be talking about the series Born to be Viral I watched, which was like so captivating yet disturbing about like, family vloggers and like how it's impacting their children, and it's filmed over the course of 5 years with three separate families. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. And then I'm also going to be talking about Ryan Coogler's latest documentary about Hurricane Katrina. I did not yet finish completely, but I got through, I think, either 3 or 4 episodes. So I'm going to be hitting on that. And I'm also going to be talking about Laverne Cox going on Olay and Friends and some of the thoughts that I have about that. So this is going to be a jam-packed episode filled with a bunch of different things. If you're not interested in one thing, you might be interested in another. And I'm going to try to add timestamps at the end of this for anybody who listens on YouTube. Let's start with the Valley reunion part 2, just because that's fresh in my brain. It's what I just ended up watching right before I hopped on here. I'd like to start by saying this. I think that the Bravo reunions, all of them, should just be 2 parts. It's very clear that the climactic things happen on episode 3. And I'm tired of us sitting through part 1 where we don't really find out much and it's more so just setting the scene. We've already watched the full season. We should be coming into this having watched the full season and it being fresh. I'm done. It's the bit is very tired. I've been dealing with it since Real Housewives of Atlanta season 1. I get it, but I'm done with it. It's very, very, very annoying. So saving like the most important conversations for part 2 and just keeping us dangling there, very annoying. I also think that the stage that Andy's at in his career, I find him to be somewhat frustrating as a host sometimes. And it could be the stage that he's at in his career. It could also be the length of time that he spends around these people or just his personal opinions of them impacting him as a host. But it makes me annoyed sometimes on separate shows to see where Andy gets fed up with somebody and wants to stop the conversation. And I know it's because you want to fit in everything and let everybody speak, but a lot of times it feels like we're stopping a conversation before it gets productive. And it feels like it could have ended more productive than he gave it the opportunity to, simply because he's tired of hearing about it. And I find that frustrating. Like, I'm tired of him shutting down a conversation, whether it's because it's annoying him, overstimulating him, or he's already heard enough of it. Because us as viewers, usually when he shuts down a conversation, when it's at its peak, is when I would like to see it keep going. Now, here's the reality. I think that the Valley, there's tons of toxic shows on television, and I don't watch all of them. Okay. I can only talk about the shows that I watch. But the Valley for me right now is one of the most toxic shows on television. And it feels, it makes me feel guilty to watch. Like, it makes me feel like I'm passively participating. And I think that what I mean by that is, I think that as an informed viewer, I'm aware that every season of reality TV, there's some bit of like mental manipulation from production. That's something that we unfortunately have to leave space for. Like, the production company can be toxic, they could be manipulating people. What I don't like seeing, and Bravo does this a lot, other networks do as well, but we're talking about the Valley. I don't like seeing dangerous behaviors rewarded on television and passively and being a bystander to whatever atrocity could happen. Leaving the possibility for it to happen and not interfering directly and allowing it to go on, and then us sitting here and watching the train wreck go down, like, it just is wrong. And I've always begged the question, like, is there an ethical way to make reality TV? I would argue that yes, there is a way to make interesting and ethical reality TV. But I'll give you an example. There were so many cast members of The Valley who have substance abuse issues. And all of these behaviors are rewarded with airtime, with a check at the end of the season. So all of these behaviors throughout the season is in theory or inherently rewarded, right? But with substance abuse and with an individual, like let's just use Jax Taylor, okay, who's been on Vanderpump Rules, who calls himself the number one guy in the group, who is sort of known for his erratic and reactive decisions that he makes. In order to be the Jax Taylor that he is, I feel like a part of him is reliant on that substance abuse to have that type of behavior come out, um, that viewers quote unquote want to see. It's sort of like what I feel like sometimes musicians talk about going through, where sometimes the darkest times in their life is when they record the best music. So they get in this cycle of self-sabotage. And Jax Taylor gets no passes. I'm simply pointing out how on reality television, you're inadvertently rewarding these men for leaning into their substance abuse and addictions because their behavior makes for good TV. Whether they're outright told that or whether they can gauge that because of body language, airtime, and comments from production around them, that's something that they're told. Continuing on, we're watching and hearing both because we've seen it happen on screen and we're watching and hearing abuse happen in relationships, whether it's talking about financial abuse, whether it's emotional or psychological abuse, or whether it's hearing of physical abuse happening. For example, Jax Taylor throwing the table at Brittany where it bruised her leg. These are all things that are being part of a storyline, and it feels uncomfortable that the cast members who are harming others are written a check at the end of the season. Continuing on, Jax has shown us multiple times that he has stalked Brittany throughout this season. He has kept tabs on her and he's surveilling her. There's so many things that Jax has done that I have said, in my personal opinion, as someone who is not a psychologist, is not trying to diagnose him, is simply providing my opinion. My opinion is that Jax shows signs of family annihilator, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks that. Even when part 2 of the reunion, when Zach mentioned how Jax really doesn't call his son by his name and says, my son, centers himself, the narcissism, it just feels like there's something there. A lot of people aren't going to like this next comment, but it's rewarding inappropriate touching and behaviors. I think that because Nia is quote unquote likable and relatable, and I think that because she is, she takes care of herself and she, how do I want to word this? She's intentional with how she reacts in public. She tries to remove Danny from situations that might be embarrassing to him. And in theory, Nia's a good wife, right? But it doesn't make for like authentic reality TV. In addition, I personally, as somebody who grew up so involved in the church, I still have a relationship with God. I still am a Christian. I still think that the actions that I show in my life by how I love others and make space for others, I do think that that shows people who are actually Christians that I'm a Christian. But I think that their like very Christian conservative relationship, for some reason, and this might make me an unreliable narrator, but I find it just personally triggering. Having Nia support Danny through things that she would have every right to break up with him for, to leave him for, to not want to, like, all of that, to have a huge reaction, to have a public outburst, like all of these things that are precedented for what's going on, whether it's the expectations that's set on their relationship or whether that's just how they want to be as a couple, she's not doing. And I just feel like I don't like these. She reminds me of somebody who stands behind their husband as these horrible allegations come out and could look someone in the face who's coming forward with an allegation and not really put in any stock to it and just still stand behind her husband because the Bible says so. And I get this sort of feeling from Danny. Again, people aren't going to like this. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, do me a favor, don't comment, just go somewhere else. My opinion is that Danny strikes me as someone who manipulates Nia with their faith. Although Danny has although Danny, let's just be gracious, okay? Although Danny drinks, and although whether he says socially or he just drinks all of the time, he still considers himself a Christian. And even though he's living, as Christians would call it, like this worldly life around worldly friends, it feels like behind the scenes, he like weaponizes what the Bible says about standing behind your husband, serving your husband, all of these things towards Nia. And if not, this is me being gracious towards Nia, then I would just outright have a lot more dislike than her just co-signing her husband's behaviors. The apology that we saw from Danny at this reunion in part 2, alleged apology to Jasmine, was infuriating to me, because there was no accountability and there was a lot of excuses. And like, whether that's just how both of them are, Danny and Nia both do this. They both add fluff to a situation and try to make things look better. And again, I know I just talked about how reality television is rewarding behaviors and that we shouldn't do that. Simultaneously, I don't like people who put on an air and are inauthentic. I would like to see people for who they are. And I think that both of them are either in denial about Danny's behavior or try to package up Danny's behavior in a way that ends up being dismissive. Because you're sitting there and saying, like, I barely remember that night. I wasn't even present that night mentally. I was on antibiotics. All of these things, you know what I mean? All of these excuses for why your behavior would have you out of character. When, number one, that still doesn't excuse the behavior. Okay. It doesn't acknowledge the nuance of the situation. Not only did you choose to do that to the only queer couple who's there that night, but you did it to Jasmine, the only Black cast member, and her girlfriend. Like, there's just a lot of layers to the situation, and even acknowledging her discomfort and feeling safe enough to address this with Danny without being villainized for expressing her feelings, and even acknowledging the fact that Jasmine may have tried to not let this impact her relationship with Danny and keep things cordial the next few times that she sees him. But she has every right for this to still bother her a year later and say something about it. And I think that when Danny said, are you sure that you want to do this? I think we hear moments of who Danny really is. And it's all surrounded by all of this fluff. And I don't like it. I don't like that Nia has to be a part of it. I don't like, he admitted at the pantry. I don't like Janet either, but he admitted that he went in the pantry, and I knew he did. People tried to deny it. Go back and look on Reddit. Go back and look in my comments. People were like, no, like, that's not what he was doing. He admitted himself that he was drinking in there because he didn't want the cameras or Nia to know. He claims cameras. He was hiding his drinking intentionally, as Janet said that he did. Okay? And I don't like the fact that he lies to Nia. I'm sure that that's not the only time. We saw him we heard of him trying to tell Nia that he had like a couple drinks, and Nia says herself, I say, I think you're a little more than that. I just don't like the relationship that he has with her. I also noticed earlier in the season that a lot of the responsibility falls on Nia with their children. And then when Danny takes on that same responsibility as Nia, he needs like 3 days to recover. He's given all the passes in the world. He has to go out and drink. It's like, when does Nia ever have a chance to recover and have fun the way that Danny does. So all of those things bother me. But let's go back to Jax. Okay, we're watching abusive behavior. We saw abusive behavior between Jesse and Michelle. Jax and Brittany, Jesse and Michelle are two unlikable couples, and nonetheless, it's two separate things. While I might think that Brittany's a bad friend and I might not like Brittany for multiple things that she's done, I'm not going to minimize the abuse that she's going through with Jax and how he's treating her. Those are like two separate statements. I might not like Michelle, and I might still wonder if some of the things that they said about her political opinions are true. And that still doesn't minimize the fact of what she's going through with Jesse that we see happening. And I think another thing that's really being left out of the conversation, because let's talk about Brittany being a bad friend. She is a bad friend. She's a bad friend to Kristen. She's a bad friend to Zach. Let's talk about her being a bad friend. I don't know if they're just not airing the conversations or if they're not being had, but we're not talking about the fact that you can be a bad friend when you're in an abusive relationship. Like, sometimes you can love somebody so much and they are your best friend, but they're in survival mode and focusing solely on themselves. And that, as much as you love them, can still allow them to be a bad friend. Like when you are so focused on yourself and when you are being controlled by one person that you owe loyalty to, that you're not breaking these ties with, when it's a cycle of returning to the person whom your loved ones know is harming you, like there's a reason why sometimes friendships end, and it can feel so taxing for both individuals. Like I've seen people go to therapy because they feel so guilty for ending a friendship with someone who was treating them terribly and couldn't show up because they can't show up for themselves and they don't have the capacity. They don't have the capacity to do that. And I feel like that's being left out of the conversation. And it doesn't give that person permission to treat you the way they are either. It doesn't give them permission to harm you, nor does it make that harm any easier to experience, digest, potentially resolve and work through someday with that individual if the situation changes. But like there's a lot of nuance to the situation, and it's just being talked about that like Brittany's a bad friend, but we really need to talk about why, because it's true that she is a bad friend, but I wish that we would just hit on why she's being a bad friend. And I think that some people will be listening to this and can understand both perspectives. I think that people will have both been the friend who has had to remove themselves begrudgingly from someone who is not being a good friend to them or who is draining all of their energy. And then I think that there are people who have been in the situation where their friends have backed away from them while they're in that relationship, and whether they were able to mend things at a later time or not. I think that there are people who have been both. Okay. And again, it doesn't give them permission, but I want to acknowledge and not minimize the suffering of people who are in those abusive situations. Sometimes all you can do in the moment is survive. Like sometimes all you can do in the moment is survive. And again, that's not necessarily compatible with being a good friend. Two things can be true. Two things can be true. And then let's end with two women are pregnant. Like we have Kristen and Nia, very pregnant and sitting through these high stress situations. So all in all, was The Valley a better show than I expected it to be? Yes. Is it good TV? Yes. Is it entertaining? Yes. Is it problematic and concerning? Also, yes. Also, yes. I think that because Jax Taylor has been so erratic for so long, people are really minimizing some of the things that he's done and not spending enough time with it. He threatened to unalive Brittany, and it was recorded on her either Ring doorbell or outside surveillance cameras. You know what I mean? Like like he keeps tabs on her, he's resentful of her. Like there are just some things that are concerning. Again, I don't like Janet. Like, I don't like Janet. Nothing's changed about that. Nothing's changed about liking Janet. But I do think that she is being real when she's talking about Danny's behavior. And I don't think that I think that what Nia does, and again, she's being a good wife. Nia's being a good wife and partner. But that also isn't compatible with good TV because if you're going to take Danny out every time he starts to get a little drunk and starts saying things about other cast members, like that's not authentic. Like the Danny that we're seeing is like the Danny that you want us to see, and like everybody else is showing their ass, so to speak. And that's not to say that that's Nia's fault, but like if you can sit there and say that them controlling the narrative is cohesive with reality TV. That's the third time I've tried to find which C word I was looking for that goes there. It's just not. It's just not. I don't like it. I'm not into it. I don't like controlling the narrative. Let us see what's going on. Again, great wife, bad for reality TV. And it's not like I dislike Nia. Again, I feel a lot of empathy for Nia in the situation that she's being put in. And I think arguably she's probably a lovely person. All right, now I'm going to transition into talking about Amaya's racist posts that were uncovered, I believe from 2014. I'm going to fact check in just a second as I pull them up. What I'm going to start with is by pulling up the article that adds some background, and then I'm going to pull up the actual tweet itself. So it says, in a post on X, a Love Island USA fan posted screenshots of Amaya allegedly reposting a Facebook post of a meme describing people's different skin tones with offensive stereotypes associated with it. She reposted the post in 2014 when she was 14 or 15 years old. She also allegedly liked and reposted TikToks made by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump, and Tucker Carlson. One TikTok user pointed out the similarities between her past colorist behavior and how she treated dark-skinned people on Love Island. We fast forward to her being on Love Island, how she talked to a dark-skinned Black Haitian woman, even though she's Dominican, and how she treated a Black man when he had boundaries. She said, "Does Amaya still think this? I won't say it. I don't have any proof." I'm sorry if I read that long-winded or incorrectly. The same user made a follow-up post. The girl was acting like she had internalized racism that she was going to perpetuate. She called the Black man a player for being open and honest. And I don't know if they're referring to Chris or Jeremiah, but she very much affirmed Huda's delusions in both of those relationships in a negative way towards the men she was with, both Jeremiah and Chris. As of writing, Amaya has not responded to the claims. Love Island USA fans have spoken about Amaya's behavior. One person posted on X, "People need to stop excusing Amaya because she was 14 and 15. I can promise you I wasn't writing racist or colorist things at that age because I actually respect all human beings, regardless of skin color. This is weird as fuck on her part." So the article continues to talk about how this comes after the news of Kenny and Janae's breakup. Let me pull up the post in a separate tab. Let's see. Let me make sure that this is up. Okay. I think you guys are able to see that. So this post is from July 27th, 2014. It says facts about skin colors, light skinned girls, 25% thoughts, mostly Hollywood, takes the best pictures. Everyone wants to wife them, got the best hair, got the best bodies, if Spanish, is scammers, undercover freaks. First of all, the entire post is just immensely offensive, immensely offensive. All of it. It's like it's trying to say something positive about, as it's being worded here, about light-skinned girls while simultaneously still hypersexualizing them. She continues on to say, brown-skinned girls, 65% thoughts, likes to fuck with scammers, do anything for likes, got nice bodies, always wear weave, thinks they're the shit when they got on trues. So saying that their percentage of promiscuity goes up as the darker that they get, it's just so, like, this post is just like really, really gross. This was a very upsetting post to read. Every single thing on this is colorist. Every single thing on this reinforces racist stereotypes and tropes, and everything on this reinforces and perpetuates misogynoir specifically towards Black women. The final column says dark-skinned girls, 100% thoughts, do anything to get money, looks at camera while getting, always using filters to make them lighter. It's just, I'll probably get banned. Genitalia looking like burnt Franks. Will F you and all your bros in a staircase. Now, the caption of this said, nah, this shit is hilarious, and Maya reposted it. It's just so disgusting. It's truly disgusting. Like, there's been some speculation. First, let's present all the facts. There's been some speculation as to whether or not this post, let me get out of this. There's been some speculation as to whether or not that post was actually Amaya. Some people were saying it was AI. It turns out, I think that those people who were saying that were a part of like the Amaya Papaya space on Twitter, and like we're trying to say that to protect Amaya. Let's assume that that's real. I don't know what about that at all is funny. Like, it's just such problematic rhetoric. Like, and it was such a hateful post. Like, and for there to be no statement, no addressing it, and then to follow it up with her recent reposts being from, allegedly, from Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, RFK Jr., that leads me to believe even further that that post is probably something that she posted. And yeah, I mean, it can't help but feel like there's some sort of correlation with her alignment to Huda in the house, whom, caused harm towards both Shelley and Alandria, and whose online following has caused harm towards Alandria and Shelley, and that she aligned herself, and Huda also was at the very least harmful towards her partners, who both were Black men on the show. Like, it's just like, for you to align yourself to Huda and be loyal to Huda and reaffirm Huda's delusions, I thought that was weird from the very beginning. I did. I told friends, I had it written in my notes. I think I talked about it on my podcast. I did think that that behavior is weird. Am I here to say that Amaya is the same person and would repost that now today? I don't know. But it would at least seem like some of that deep prejudice or deep implicit bias that you were taught, whatever that is, it still needs to be addressed, because it would seem as if Black women have spoken about the fact that it seems like that's still coming across. And as to amplify how dark-skinned Black women felt watching the show, who felt that from Amaya, I would, just to amplify that, I would say that's their opinion, and they're probably right. I just think it's really gross. I think it's really gross. I'm going to be honest. That was a very shocking thing to read. It's hard for me to read. I don't think I don't think that a white woman offering sympathy, I don't think I could even express how it makes me feel to know that Black and brown women are reading that post and dark-skinned Black women are reading that post and knowing that it's specifically making fun of them. To know that specifically when she was 14 and 15 years old, this Jezebel narrative, hypersexuality, Black girls are fast narrative was very much around Amaya, and she was putting that out into the world. And some of that may still be there. And knowing that that's how people think, and knowing that that's something that little girls and Black women should not have to shoulder just makes me very upset. I know that I'm struggling with my words, but that's really, it just makes me so upset. It makes me so upset. Okay, moving away from Amaya's posts, let's talk about Beyond the Villa episode 4. And let's talk about the notes that I had. And at the end of the episode, I had some questions listed for Janae. So Beyond the Villa episode 4, what can I call him as to not have to say his name every time? I'm just going to call him Ken, right? Right, Ken derogatory. So Ken and Janae are talking about how he, emphasis on he, wanted to get a foster dog. So he wanted to do this, and then all of a sudden, midway through the episode, it turns into something else. Well, I wish that Peacock discontinued Beyond the Villa or at least edited out every scene that he was in. The one thing I'll say is because they didn't and because they're watching it, it gives me the ability to have some context into to Ken's behavior with this information that we have, with this context that we have, and like pick up on things. It's not things that I think that Janae would have been able to pick up on, because it's not things that I think that I have ever picked up on from him prior to knowing this information. But there is just lots of things that I'm now noticing that I'm going to talk about. I also think it's interesting that he wanted to talk specifically like the foster dog thing, knowing that Leah loves animals, knowing that they're doing the foster dog thing, wanting to get close to Leah and Miguel, who have a large following count. I wonder when Miguel started to think that he was a clout chaser. I wonder if it's around this time. I wonder if it's always been. I would really, really love to hear more about that. I wonder if it happened on the hike that they went on when he talked about how he wasn't wanting to live with Janae and still needed his space and had an apartment in Dallas and in New York City or whatever. Like, okay. Now, the best part of the episode, one of the best parts of the episode, was seeing Cordell and Serena go to their cooking class. They learned how to make a steak, and Serena's anxious even thinking about Cordell leaving. Now, we know that Cordell was leaving, and I believe he was going to Atlanta, I think for 6 weeks to film a scripted TV series. I know that the name of that series has come out, but I'm not going to hunt for it right now, but I know it's come out. Put it in the comments if you know, because without a doubt, I absolutely will be watching. But Serena's anxious. He's her best friend, partner in crime, lover. She does not want him to leave. And she's also talks about openly about how she's dealing with daily anxiety attacks. I liked how Cordell reassured her in this scene, and how he's also taking time to do stuff with her before he leaves, and told her, like, when you're feeling anxious, like, just come and see me. Like, just come and see me. Like, it's like open door policy. Come and see me at any time. That would make me feel very included. Now, Miguel and Leah's foster dog is absolutely adorable. So adorable. And Miguel is struggling, coming to terms with the fact that they don't get to keep the foster dog, but they get to be a part of the process of building them up so that they can have a future home. This series is making me like Miguel more and more. Now, I know, I think Leah had a little bit of editing control. At least she said she did over, I thought they all were supposed to, over what was put in the show. But I'm liking him more and more. And we'll talk about too very briefly, because I didn't really tap into this. He's separating himself from the friends that I didn't like ever. So I'm glad to hear that. They talk about how Leah is having a health scare right now. She had a lump on her arm that they had to send out to biopsy to see if it could be cancerous. And because she has health anxiety, this is something that she's really struggling with. She doesn't like not being in control of her health, and also just this waiting space, like this time of waiting to figure out what's going on. And again, I like that Miguel said that her weight is my weight. I think that he's being a very supportive partner. And I think that that's what men should be doing. Okay. We get to see Kendall interact with his sister a little bit, but because it's Kendall, unfortunately, sorry, sis, I did go forward. I did go forward a little bit. Okay. Not to leave his big sis out to dry, but I did go forward. Now, I did tune into just a few minutes because I'm selfish, Liv and Kendall going to a hosting coach because as a podcast host, I didn't even know that there was one of those. Um, Kendall lands like he would have been a great broadcaster on ESPN. And in another timeline, I wish that he had done that and wasn't a part of this show. Like I wish that that's the timeline that he had gone to. But anyways, there was a couple of good tips. I don't think that it's lit within Liv's wheelhouse to necessarily be a red carpet host, but I think over time, if she has a podcast and continues her podcast, that maybe that's something that she could work on like a muscle, but it's certainly not coming naturally the way that it's coming across from Kendall. I would say maybe go into fashion, maybe some food reviews. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to figure it out for you. You had blonde moments, which I thought was weird. So that's just that on that. So Janae's dog's name, her foster dog that she's adopting, is Juan the Puggle. Cute, adorable, stunning. And like, even in this scene, Ken won't touch the dog. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why did you want to do this? Like that puts even more stock into the theory that you only wanted to do this to have something to be filmed with Leah and Miguel. Because like you've never now knowing that you've never had a dog before and you're scared of this dog and you don't want to even touch him or hold them, and yet this dog is supposed to be living with you. You know what really I think is what happened? I think that this was all Kenny's suggestion. We know it was. He wanted to get a dog. He wanted to foster a dog. But Kenny thought, I'm just going to say his name because it's too much effort. He thought that Janae would be taking this dog and that she would take on all of the work, that the foster dog would live with her. And what we caught was the tail end of those conversations where it made it look like Janae was like saying that like Kenny wants this. And there like wasn't that much evidence to support it. No, Kenny wanted this. He wanted to do this, wanted to film these scenes, wanted to come across like they're so like he's such a humanitarian. He loves animals. Like Kenny's so cute. But in reality, you didn't want to do any of the work. You didn't want to do any of the work. It's like those guys who walk around with dogs just to get girls, and like then they're mean to their animal. And Janae was like, no, no, like I'm seeing who he is more as things go on. He also tried to say that Juan was very calm, like me. It's like I don't even know if that's real. I don't even know if that person is real anymore. I would assume no. I would assume no. Um, let's see. They go roller skating. They go to a skating rink and whatever. Kenny sucks, but he's there. Serena said that Cordell doesn't want any drama. So basically Kendall, Leah, Liv, Kaylor. I'm sorry, not Leah. Whatever. The blondes and Kendall. They weren't invited. Okay. It was just PPGM. That makes it easy. It was just PPGM, no Connor. And I love that Cordell doesn't like the drama. Okay. Because keep that away from Serena, who's already anxious, and keep that away from yourselves and your friends. Okay. Now we see Connor in the next scene because he's clearly not invited to this event. And he got a haircut from the last episode. And just for continuity purposes, I have to always continue to shit on Connor. He looks like the Outsiders. I'm like, what are you on? The Shets? The Shets. Yeah, actually, that would be what he's on. Are you on the Sharks or the Jets? He's on the Shets. Okay, Mr. Shet. Connor, like the jean jacket, you look ridiculous. You look ridiculous. Okay, but he talks to Kendall about how he wanted to apologize. I want to apologize. No, you don't. You wanted to apologize to Janae at the reunion and you never got the chance to. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. She has a P.O. box. Okay, even the fans know she has a P.O. box. You can't send her an I'm sorry, a gift, a card at any point if she didn't open up your DM. The low effort, okay? And then you're going to try to unfollow Kenny in solidarity after the fact. I mean, good, unfollow him. But come on, Connor. Come on, Connor. Now, we see a confessional where Kenny says that he's so far removed from adopting another dog and that Janae's jumped the gun. This is the twisting that he did behind the scenes with Janae, and which is why I said that the only word I could think of for the relationship, because I'm sure that there's another word, but it feels like gaslighting. Some people might say love bombing, but it's just very much like he created this false reality for her and then ripped the rug from underneath her, ripped the rug. And then also like convinced her like to not even be confident in the things that she thought because he would convince her otherwise of something. Like he would twist things that they had a conversation about and make her wonder, I'm sure, not to put words in her mouth, but if they even had that conversation. Because now it went from him wanting to adopt a foster dog to he's far removed from adopting another one and Janae's jumping the gun. I just don't like how he tries to twist things and try to make it seem like Janae is asking too much of him. And for people who start to speculate that maybe he was attempting to like soft launch their breakup or like slowly distance themselves, I think that he tried it. You tried it. You tried it, Kenny. You tried to make her look bad, and we see through you. Now, we've heard on and off about Kayla's kidney condition, but I don't think like we've ever actually in full talked about like how serious it is because it sounds pretty serious, like as Liv was saying. So I kind of wish that we could talk more about that so that I can understand like what happened. I know it's none of my business, but I'm just curious. Okay. Which brings me to say, Liv and Kayla are friends again. She talks to him about her boy drama, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going right past that. Okay. Until Kayla's been with someone for 7 months and they're still dating, I'm not paying attention to her relationship. I don't care. Okay. Now, Janae hangs out with Leah and Serena, and this is the best part of the episode. All of the gals are together and they all hang out and they have like popcorn and snacks, charcuterie, sit outside. Actually, I think they're grilling. I think they're grilling. They have even better snacks than that, but they're just hanging out, having a girls' night. And each one of them goes and like kind of shares like what they're, like what's new with them and what they're feeling at the time. And Janae talks about how she found out that Kenny didn't want to live with her when she was at the grocery store. And I don't want to put words in her mouth, so please let me know if you've rewatched the episode enough to remember this, or potentially you just have a better memory. I'm almost positive that she found out from his brother. Like, I don't even think that Kenny was the one who told her. Like, I swear she said that she found out from Kenny's brother. So like that should, and she was like upset by it and called Leah right away. Like, I just think Kenny's a fucking asshole. Kenny is an asshole. Okay. And Janae's feelings are valid. So she's telling the girls about this and how she had to sort of humble herself because when she had a conversation with Kenny after, she understood that his feelings were valid, Janae said. And the girls are like, no, no. How you're feeling is valid. Like, why is he acting like you're not the prize and like he would be lucky to live with you? lucky to have you take care of him, and you want to do those things. Like the fact that you even want to take care of him and do those nice things for you, and he doesn't care. I hate him. I hate him. Like, to quote Janae about Connor, hate the kid. About Kenny, I think he sucks. Okay. Leah tells them about her health scares. Serena offers to knock out the cancer. They joke that the cancer would be scared of Leah. I hope that Leah's okay. I'm sorry, of Serena. I hope that Leah's okay. I just really enjoy their friendship together. I really enjoy their friendship together. Serena talks about how she has almost daily anxiety attacks. She talks about how she's worried about Cordell leaving and how she's really going to need to depend on them for those months. I just love how they support each other. I love how they support each other. And they're just, I'm going to need you. Like, I need you. I even love that Janae doesn't read the room. And like, as Serena's talking about how depressed she's going to be as Cordell is leaving and going out of town, Janae's solution is to bring balloons and put them in the house as if what? We're having a fucking party? We're having a party. He's leaving? No, I'm depressed. I need pizza. I need ice cream. But Janae's hilarious. I absolutely love her. Now, I would love to talk with Janae on my podcast, right? Like, I would love to talk with Janae. But I know that there's a lot of other hosts who would probably be, you know, I would be just as excited to see have the conversation. I would love to see Jessie Wu have the conversation. I would like to see Rachel Lindsay have the conversation. Not fan, but Rachel Lindsay. Like, she has her own podcast, I think, that just came out, and she talked with Taylor Hale from Big Brother. I have not yet listened to that, but I would like to see her talk with Janae about everything that came on. I'm sure more can come to mind of who I'd like to see talk with her, but I would like to talk with her. Like, there's just so many questions that when she's ready to talk about, I would like to hear her have the space for. Let's see what else. Okay, because I just did 2 longer segments, let's take a quick look at Olay and Friends panel that she did the other day. Absolutely iconic with Laverne Cox. Okay. Now, what I would like to say is, oh, let me fix the screen actually. Okay. What I would like to say is, respectfully, every panelist except one, I really enjoyed hearing their thoughts. Kat Black, iconic. Dominique, Deshawn, Hope, Olay, Laverne, all of them. It was such great discourse. Now, I went and got myself Deshawn's book about desirability, Belly of the Beast, and I'm so excited to read it. I'm so excited to read their perspective, to see more from them. After I listened to Deshawn speak, I'm like, somebody said that they have one of the great minds of this generation. And aside from that, Deshawn is just funny. Like, Deshawn is just a funny person, and has a lot of great things to say. So I don't know. If you didn't listen to this, I know that this is about her saying that she dated a MAGA NYPD cop. And I know that a lot of people were talking about that. But yeah, I mean, I was shocked when this came across my For You page. And I think that the panel discussion was just very enlightening, very interesting. All right, let's talk about Perfect Match. Let's talk about Perfect Match. As I said, I have up the cast, and I'm going to go through what's happening by way of just telling you what's going on with each person. Spoilers, I watched episodes 1 through 6. So let's start there. AD, AD, AD. I know that this is the show. Like, here's the thing. If we didn't have the context that we do, that AD and Ollie are pregnant right now, they got engaged, that they're allegedly very happy together. If we didn't have that context, I already know that my thoughts would be a lot different on their relationship. Like, if I didn't know that they ended up together, the first 6 episodes, I would say, AD, keep looking. What we've heard is that, actually, you know what? Let's look at what we've heard. Hannah's had a lot to say. Now, Hannah was supposed to be a cast member on this season, okay? And she presumably was, but then all of her scenes were edited out. And what we're hearing is allegedly Hannah is pregnant. She met the person who's the father of her child while she's on Perfect Match, and their storyline is just completely cut. So she has talked about that. I don't really love her comparing it to how I don't think it's about how AD got to share her journey. I just think it's about the fact that she was cut. Like, I think I would like for her to keep it centered on that. Okay. But she keeps talking about how when all the crazies on Perfect Match get a good edit. And I swear I saw both her and QT in the comments, sort of implying that that may have been about Ollie. You know, this is my speculation. Don't take this for fact, but I think that they're talking about Ollie. And I think that we have heard as, or at least I'll say that I've heard as a creator, some rumblings that potentially Ollie had a lot cut out to try to preserve the fact that him and AD are going to be. Netflix is pinning a lot of hopes on this relationship because Lauren and Cameron want nothing to do with the franchise, and they would love another forward facing couple in reality TV whom things worked out for and that still want to be involved with Netflix. Okay. And AD is a podcast host of the reality. What's the reality podcast? So that's what I feel like. Okay. I feel like even with the stuff they took out, I can still tell like Ollie, like, I don't know. Another thing is, I don't necessarily, first of all, I'm happy for AD. If you're happy, I'm happy. But I don't necessarily buy that her and Ollie, and I don't buy this for most shows. Okay, like let's be very clear. Like I've heard for other seasons of Perfect Match, this is the third season. I've heard from other seasons of Perfect Match that people also talked that before then. I've also heard this about Bachelor in Paradise. Like I've heard that allegedly people are actually forming relationships before they get to the island, and then on the island they have the opportunity to take things further. But we saw that happen actually with I think it was like Piper and Braden. Maybe it was those people. So I'm not buying the fact that coming off of AD's last experience with Clay, that she is so trusting so immediately of Ollie. I'm just not really buying that. I think that they knew each other before. If it happened that fast, good for them. But to me, it just seems like I'm not buying it. Now, when I talked about moments that Ollie's not seeming great, Alex is a good example of that. Alex has been brought on Temptation Island, season one of Netflix's. That confused me because there's lots of season of Temptation Island. But the first season that was on Netflix, still with the same host, she was just recently on there, and she was like the temptress. I think in Breon's relationship, I'm forgetting what the girl's name who he was with, but they basically had a menage a trois, and she's on this season and coming on to be guys types. Okay. And Ollie is basically trying his hardest in one of the episodes to bring Alex in. Like him and AD get to go to the boardroom, they're bringing people in, and he's very adamant that QT is not Louis's type, but Alex is. And he's arguing down so heavily in favor of Alex that even as viewers, like woman's intuition, you're interested in her. Like you want to explore her. Like you're not passively rooting for your friend. Like you really want her in the house. And I think that there was definitely something to that. Now I'm curious if in actuality something goes on with Alex and Ollie, if we'll see that. But I definitely think that AD was on the money when she talked about that. Now, moving on to Carrington. I don't like Carrington on any show that he comes on. I don't. I just find him annoying. He talked on this show about how he's going to Google like the most extravagant compliment so that he can keep himself in the house. Like, I just think that Carrington's a douchebag, but if you need a douchebag, like, he's a good person for it. I could see him being a perfect cast member for F Boy Island. That's a show that I would rather see him on than something like Perfect Match, personally. I just don't like him. I think we briefly see him explore things, but like he's pretty much kicked to the curb. Like he's pretty much kicked to the curb. Like even Juliet, whom was, do I want to say desperate? Yeah, who was kind of giving desperate. Like even Juliet's not interested. Okay, that's a red sign. Clayton is on this season, and he was most interested in Lucy, who was on, I think, last season of Too Hot to Handle. But she's not interested in him. She's interested in somebody else. So then Clayton immediately goes and pursues Madison. But Madison's like, I don't want to be your number two. So she goes to basically like a less attractive Clayton, Cody, and couples up with him briefly until Freddie comes in and she puts herself with Freddie. I just find Clayton annoying. Like he has a thing with Juliet. Like Juliet interrupted his conversation with Madison that he so clearly wanted to finish, and yet Juliet came in like Kimmy Gibbler, knocking on the door 3 times, or like Roger, go home, Roger. I want to finish this conversation, and like she just doesn't have any shame. We could call her the interrupter, and that would be fine. She actually probably feels very familiar to Clayton because it's very much Bachelor Night One energy. Can I steal you? The girl who would interrupt the lead several times. But I just don't like Clayton. I don't like him. I know that what had happened to him as far as like there was like some crazy incident where some girl said that like he impregnated her and she was pregnant with his twins, and like it was basically like blackmail and like defaming him for a couple of years. Allegedly all of this was going on before he was allegedly able to prove that that never happened. So I know all of that stuff went on, but I also saw like the other end of that where he basically became like the face for like the hateful, spiteful men, like the men's lives matter movement, and I just thought that that was weird. Like I just thought that was weird. He also strikes me as somebody who wears very short shorts but would go to the gym and talk about girls and how they're showing so much skin these days, all the while wearing like a 4-inch inseam, and then usually like one of those like cutoffs that they make themselves that goes only to the collar, only to the side of their neck on each side, and then they want to shame women as if, listen, you would show off your cute body the same way you are right now if you were a woman. That's what he strikes me as. Next up is Cody. Like I said, a less attractive version of Clayton, but written in a similar font, less built. This guy is the worst. Like, he barely was on the show, and thank God. Him and Carrington have the same energy. I think he said he was from like either Charlotte or Charleston. He gives frat boy. He could have been there that the night walking with those tiki torches, and not it, the shoes are awful. It's giving apostle or disciple. I just don't like Cody, and I think that it's funny that Madison ended up leaving him, even though I don't like Madison and Freddie. So let's hit that. Daniel Perfetto, I guess, is from Dating and Related season 1. I am not familiar with Daniel's game, not familiar with his work. He's brand new to me, and I don't like how Daniel treated Lucy. I don't like how he talked to her. I don't like how he said the line that pisses me off when men say, which is, you're doing too much, about her just sitting there and having a conversation. Like, the way that men don't want women to think that anything is funny is so annoying. Like, would you really stand there in a conversation, like God forbid it's with a woman, and not laugh at all? And it was a conversation that if he was sitting there right next to her, he wouldn't have been upset about. I had to take my birth control, and I'm not editing that out. Okay, so I don't like how Daniel speaks to Lucy. I thought he seemed very controlling, very possessive. I think the way he was yelling at her when he was in the shower, whichever episode that was, not my cup of tea. You're way too comfortable doing that. You're trying to repair your image on camera afterwards, and you seem mean. Like, I don't like the level that you got to. Now, almost a similar outfit, but just way hotter, is Freddie Powell. Freddie, I Love You from Love is Blind UK season 1. Freddie, as we all say, not all, but a good portion of us say that Freddie was written by a woman, and that's something I'll agree with every day of the week. At first, I wanted to know why people were so annoyed with Madison, because when she first left Cody and talked about how he needed a tongue scraper and had a disgusting mouth, I thought that that was funny. once I see her with Freddie for longer and just how locked in she is, like it's like, okay, I get it, like you won, you know what I mean? Like Freddie is hot, he's nice, like I get it, like you would want to be with Freddie, but the way that she almost seemingly like manipulates him with her emotions is just hard to watch, frustrating. um I liked his date with Rachel that he has, pilot Rachel from The Bachelorette. I thought that they were very suited for each other. And I just find Madison's reaction annoying. Okay, so next up is Hannah. And as I said, she was on The Mole season 2. She's still listed here on the casting photos, but they edited her out of this season. They edited her out, and she talked about all the crazies getting a good match. And she's also, let's see, she's also pregnant. Let's see. Okay, so she's also shared this. She is pregnant, being told you have to keep your engagement a secret for 6 months, only to find out you were completely cut from Perfect Match. Also, this, so since my castmates from Perfect Match announced their engagement and fake relationships, can I be allowed to announce my BD slash fiance now? Or like the double standard is insane. She posted that 3 days ago. As you can see, she is posting a lot on her page. Now, again, like I was saying earlier, I don't love the fact that Hannah is like comparing this to AD and acting like I don't like that. I don't think that that's necessary. I think it's just fair to say. And like I wish that, like, just say it. Like just say who you're talking about at this point. Who's fake relationships? Who's fake relationships? Like just say who you're talking about. If you're not going to be on the show, it looks like you're already, saying the things. So just go all the way out there and say what you're saying. Just say what you're saying. Who are you pregnant with? What's going on? Why were you cut? Who's got a fake relationship? What do you know? I think she also made a comment about, I think this is what I saw. It was a video of Love Island, or I'm sorry, of Perfect Match trying to act like Ali was like being so good on Boys Day, and she commented something like, "This makes me sick knowing what actually happened on Boys Day." Moving on to Jalen, we don't know much of Jalen yet. So at the point that we're at in episode 6, Madison gets put on a date with two guys. Two guys come. One is Ray and one is Jalen. He's from Too Hot to Handle season 6, and because I did not watch that season, I'm unfamiliar with him. Now, JR is on this show, and he's another person that I do unfortunately find annoying on pretty much every show that he's on. The last show he was on was The Ultimatum, where arguably he was pretty horrible to Zaina. Okay. And then had this weird, like, mutual, creepy relationship, to say the least, with Sandy going on. And then he's here, and Sandy sets up AD on a date with JR. And like it's very clear, AD can even tell halfway through the date that, like, okay, you're setting me up with him for you. But then when he comes in the house, Sandy's coupled up with Louie, who's a menace, and she doesn't even give this an opportunity. So like, why did you do that? Like, why did you do that? I just find them annoying. I'm going to be honest. Juliet is from Siesta Keys season 1 through 5. I guess she was on 5 seasons of a show on MTV. I don't know her. I won't know her. This is the last that I'll see of her. Juliet, nice to meet you. You're very cringe. Moving on to Justine. Justine has been on many a series. She's part of the reason that I said I was going to watch this season. Love Justine. Hate the fact that there's no real options for her. like perfect match as they did the year before. They don't cast very many men who actually value, have a preference for, want to date, are interested in Black women, and that's super annoying. Like basically right now, not to just make a generalized statement, but we're seeing that Ollie is definitely interested, right? But we already know that that's not going to happen. So it just feels annoying. Moving on to Louis, who, like I said, is a menace. Okay, we know that nothing actually ends up happening with him and Sandy because he's with Huda right now. Like he's with Huda real time being photographed. They went to the red carpet together for some event. They've gone around together. She was on his Twitch the other day, or somebody else's Twitch, whatever. They were on the same Twitch in the house together. We know that nothing happens. Like Perfect Match is just such an irrelevant show because like nothing actually happens. It's people that I don't really care to see again. And like I don't know. I do like Lucy. I do like Lucy, but I think that her taste in guys is kind of pits. I think it's kind of pits. Again, Madison, at first I was wondering what's everybody's beef with Madison, and then I started to see that Madison is in fact annoying. I don't like all the comments. I've seen lots of comments like being really weird to her and body shaming her. I think that that's very weird. You guys need to check on yourselves. Olivia, we meet for 5 minutes. I believe she is the one who comes on the date with Ollie. Okay, I don't remember her at all from Temptation Island, so that's really all I have to say. Ollie, I think that Ollie's journey is going to be very different than what we actually see. And I think that, like, unfortunately for AD, people will talk about that at some point. At some point. I hope that to protect AD, I hope it's not when she's pregnant or recovering. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to say. I don't. Perfect Match has made me dislike Ollie more than I had liked him on Love is Blind because I had actually liked him there a lot. I don't think that QT has been brought out yet, but like I like QT, loved her on The Circle. I would like to see her there. Loved her on Battle Camp. She did a great job. Hated the beef that she had with, I think it was like, was it Avery from The Mole? Someone had really weird beef with her, and I hated that for her. She's stunning. Again, I wanted to see Rachel and Freddie together. Of course, I feel like producers sort of like forced, or Clayton's just a dumbass. Like they forced them to be together. Me, I was at home screaming, "Get away from her!" And this is Rachel Reikia, pilot Rachel from The Bachelor. Um, if she's not going to be with Freddie, like respectfully, you can go home, Rachel, because I don't see anybody else there. Now, Ray is allegedly the person that people are most suspicious that Hannah, like, is the father of Hannah's child. Most suspicious that they are together. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. And I'm not even going to waste my brain energy to try to figure it out until she just comes out and says it. I'm not playing these games, okay? Sandy's on this show. The last relationship she was in was with 40-year-old Nick from Los Angeles, who was like, um, like, I don't know. I don't dislike Sandy, but like I don't like her either. And she reminds me so much of Jessica from the other season of Love is Blind. Like they just look so much like each other. Like that's all I can say. Like that's me being nice. Scott Vandersloot. Scott's hot. Like Scott's hot. Was he not with Justine in some capacity? Would have liked to see them together. I forget. Oh, you know what? I think Rachel's with Scott. Actually, I do like them together. I do like Rachel and Scott together. Let me not about Freddie. I'm liking that for now. I'm liking that for now. And that's pretty much it. Like, that's pretty much the first 6 episodes by way of going through the cast. Do I like this season? No. Am I watching this season? Yes. Do I watch things that I don't necessarily like all the time? Sometimes. Like, sometimes I do. I can tolerate watching Perfect Match right now because I don't like The Bachelor and I'm not watching that. Like, I'm not watching Bachelor in Paradise. So for now, I can tolerate Perfect Match. It's just not my favorite. And it's mainly because Netflix just releases it so much after when it should come out. Now, I said in the beginning of this that I was going to talk about some documentaries, but I don't have the space. I don't have the space. So I'm going to keep this mostly reality TV and come back for that. Know that Born to Be Viral, I believe it's on Hulu. It's really good. Really good. Like I said, it's about child stars or stars who are like children who grew up being filmed by their parents, and it's very interesting. It is also triggering though, so please know that. Mr. and Mrs. Murder. I was recommended this from seeing someone's TikTok, and it was sort of predictable for me, but like I feel like that's almost like a gross thing to say about something when it's like telling the story of true crime. But I knew what was going to happen the moment we got into it. Nonetheless, it was still interesting. Hunting Wives was like 5 stars. I enjoyed it. I finished that in one fucking day. Okay. Dangerous Animals, the new horror film, is infuriating. Okay, like it's infuriating. The villain's annoying, kind of hot, annoying. But I think you should watch it, especially if you like movies about sharks. You should watch that. And Ryan Coogler's Hurricane Katrina is devastating. I have seen the 4-part docuseries from Spike Lee when the levees broke back a couple years ago, and this is also devastating. George Bush should never be forgiven. That day is unforgivable, and a lot of things happened that never should have and was entirely preventable. But I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a future episode. I hope that all of you enjoyed this episode, enjoyed the things I'm talking about. Dangerous Animals is available for rent. It is on Prime. I did pay the money and rent it because screw it. I didn't have to go to the movie. And I had popcorn at home. So, and Born to Be Viral, Mr. and Mrs. Murder, Hunting Wives, Hurricane Katrina documentary, all of those are free. So if you tune into those, let me know. And I hope all of you have an amazing rest of your week. Bye.